over the Dallas Cowboys and their quiet offseason. Dak entering right now, the last year of his contract, due for a cap hit of $55.4 million. And so we were just sitting around this morning, just in our meeting, this group of people, and you were waxing rhapsodic about the pro day that Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback from from Washington, had yesterday, in which, despite the 2 ACL, he had in the jump and everything else. And I said to you, if there was no injury history with him, where would he get drafted?
Top 5, top 6.
That's I think what most people believe.
Oh, that's a Cowboy right there. He's injured. He's discounted.
If you're the Dallas Cowboys and you really want to make things interesting, picking in the late 20s in the first round of this year's draft, what might you consider doing?
Pick Michael Penix, and here's why, Greeny. Last year, Deonte Banks with the 24th pick averages roughly $3.3 million. So if the 4 of us were running an NFL team, we would all say that Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Michael Penix today. But if one's making $55 million a year and one's making 3.3, think about all the other players that just walked out the door.
That sounds like a bargain.
Ron Smith, that could be a Dallas Cowboy. And if Michael Penix stays healthy, his ability is not really far away from Dak Prescott. And we could save roughly $52 million a year for the next 4 years.
There you go.
Sort of
Great
play, right? You've got Dak there for the year. Let Dak play unbelievably well when we win the Super Bowl. Then we'll worry about it. That'll be a great.
That's the solution.
We have Michael Penix sitting there, but otherwise he gets to sit for a year, as we think a lot of rookies would benefit from doing. No one is suggesting it's what's going to happen, but it is sort of an interesting little
take. Well, hello, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. You know what's kind of crazy about that is what happened to Trey Lance? Didn't we just give up a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance? Have we just forgotten about Trey Lance? Because I had people telling me, Trey Lance, it's time for the Trey Lance era. We done moved on from Trey Lance. I didn't get the memo here. We're already talking about drafting a quarterback in the 1st round when we need a running back, when we need an offensive lineman. There we go. So tonight, we're going to have a live stream roundtable because I'm just tired of taking all the bullets by myself. Because you would think that I work for the Cowboys and I'm taking the crap for Jerry Jones and crew. So shout out to Karen. What's up, Karen? Roland's Review, Crystal, Caramel, Corn's in the house and everything else. Rhonda, Lovely Sparks. Let's get to our panel here because I don't want to waste their time because they're here and I appreciate it. And there I see Space Cowboy. Now, see, here's the thing. Space Cowboy, and I'm trying to remember what year it was, but I think it was like 2018 maybe that you came to, I want to say my first.
What the fuck is your problem?
Tailgate. Because
that was 2017. Yeah, the game versus Washington. Yeah.
Scooter Magruder came by.
Yes.
That one. So that was like, oh, it was incredible. That was like the start of it. You know, that tailgate launched 1,000, well, not quite 1,000, but quite a few of them. Space, how are you doing tonight, man?
Doing good. Trying to make sure the team doesn't give me an aneurysm this offseason, but we're taking it in strides, I understand they're doing their due diligence, but we're going to do our due diligence tonight to try and provide as much information as possible and not BS anybody about what this team is going through.
Joneses?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, only so much pie to go around, so.
Okay, let me say shout out to Miss Gibson in the house too, up in here. Lady Libra in the house. Derek Young. I'm gonna do my best to try and keep up with the chat too because you guys are the key. Brian SoCal. I'm waiting for that logo. I also have Game Time Brian, who is working his way up the charts.
What up? What's going on?
Are you delivering the mail tonight?
I was off today, man.
So that means you got extra energy for tonight.
I got some good energy. I just got done going food shopping for Easter. I got to go back out tomorrow. But yeah, we're doing good. I got a video up earlier, so I'm happy about that. More importantly, I'm happy that we got a nice crowd in here already. Let me just roll through some of the people in here, and then we'll get down to the meat of the issue here. I don't know. You got Twiz, Vinny Hagan. What's going on? Jeff Lee. Who else? Brad Harris, my brother from another mother. What's up, Brad? Philly D's in the house. Elena Walker. We got our Eagles Corner. Kid Cowboy 66. What up, my man? Renee Allen, welcome to the show. You seem new here. Thank you for stopping by. We hope you stay. We got, who else we got here? Let's see. Mike Aldana. You got Tayana Ellis is in the house. Yeah, we're doing good. Fly Parks, yes, you did take a big hit today. I'm sure we're going to get into it. Mark Hutchins, Chris Johnson, what up? What's up, everybody? I miss Space Cowboy. I miss Primetime Phil. I miss Mark. How you guys doing?
All right, and let me get my man, Primetime Phil, man, from the sunny South there.
Isaac.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? Man, there's two faces I haven't seen in a while. I've seen your videos, Space Cowboy, of course, Mark Holmes.
Oh, no.
I just got these little like quips up, ready to just when you come through on the chat, it's just like Godfather, that one part of the old school where he's just all like, he's just waving them off. He's just like, yeah, man, you're crazy. Like it's just, that's what I think about you, man. Congratulations on getting over 100,000, Brian.
Thank you.
Brian, of course, man. You're hitting it, man. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks, man. Everything I'm trying to stay consistent. I'm almost at the 6,000
well, that's the key.
mark.
That's what Mark was saying since the beginning. Be consistent. Be consistent.
Yeah.
Do it. And I think the last year, with us going to the draft, of course, it was kind of just a shell shock in the sense. It was just like, oh my God, did everything happening? Just how everything's kind of planned now. Getting there before, leaving a little bit after. I'm looking forward to this year, but obviously with the Cowboys and the lack of off-season moves, I look even forward more to the draft, So
all we got. It's all we got. It's all we got is the draft. Let me say hello to Karen up in the house here. What's going on, Karen?
What's up, D-Space?
All right, so let's get down
Lady
into
Libra.
this thing here because we've got the whole Dak Prescott haters rejoiced earlier part of the week when they heard that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys had talked about the contract situation and they'd come to an agreement, and it doesn't look like there'll be a contract done right now. And so everybody took that as the Cowboys are moving on from Dak Prescott.
What's up, Dre?
Then we had Joey Epstein. No, Anderson. No, who was it?
Yeah, that's your girl, Anderson, right? Justina Anderson, something like that.
Anderson, that's it.
There you go. I don't even watch her.
Came back and said, no, it's really about taking the hit this year since the extra money was there.
Yeah, post-June.
At some point in the future. But who knows what's going to happen? So what are your thoughts on that? Because we got everybody who's already out here now saying Cowboys should get Kyler Murray. We've got, of course, the talking show saying the Cowboys should draft Michael Penix Jr., which would be a late first-round pick right there. I don't know what happened to Trey Lance because I thought he was the heir apparent, and Cooper Rush. So let me get y'all's thoughts on that.
Yeah, Brian, what's your thoughts on that?
Don't hang me out to dry. I'm doing something, you dick.
Yeah, I know. I'm messing with you. I can go. Space. You can go as
Let
well
Space
too, man.
go, man.
Yeah,
That's fine. I mean, we understand. Look, the report came out saying that they haven't given out any formal offers, or Dak's team hasn't reached out to try and get a deal done, which this isn't the first time this has happened. The last time we got into the whole contract talks with Dak Prescott, they went slow. And usually with how Todd France likes to operate as an agent, or, for his guys, specifically Dak in this case, because he is representing him, he waits for the team to send the offer out before starting to play hardball, as an agent would. There is a mutual, the word I'm looking for, there's a mutual partnership between both of them. They want to get the deal done. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been anything saying that the Cowboys don't want to get the deal done yet. So we're just kind of going off of what we're seeing. So I wouldn't be shocked if they don't do anything until 2025. And this is not just me on a hopium type of thing. It's the fact of the matter is that the Cowboys just need to have a plan and stick with it. And from what I understand, they want to wait until 2025 because they can do some stuff with the rollover with the cap, which I'm going to just be honest with you. There's no benefit into waiting because all that's going to happen is the price is going to go up. The rollover isn't going to make much sense at that point. And I don't really have a problem with what they want to do. It's just they got to pick a lane and stick with it. If they think that Dak's their guy, regardless of how anyone else feels, they just need to go and pay him. That's it. If they feel like he's not the guy, then let him walk, and that's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Well, actually, let me add at least a little bit to that. I think the idea is, if we do the contract now, we're talking about new money that's going to be $60 million a year. Let's say it's 4 years, so that's $240 million. And then we're dealing with the $95 million on top of that. It's going to really make this thing big. That maybe our best move is, let's take $55 million of it off the table now. And then if we do the deal next year, yeah, it may be $5 million or more, but we're taking the 55 off, and hopefully there's more new money too. So let's try and clear out some of that's kind of at least where I'm kind of thinking about it a little bit now, trying to be a little more rational, how it does make sense. Because you look at it and say, okay, at the moment we got $5.5 million. We do have quite a few players on here. We're going to get $9.5 million more come June 1st, which will be more than enough to sign our rookies and still have a little bit over. We don't buy into free agency ahead of time. If we need to, we can restructure them, but let's just take this hit now.
Well, that's the thing. And, Phil, me and in our live stream the other night, we said the same thing. This is where I stand. I totally believe, and Mark and Space just laid it out. I strongly believe that a deal will get done. From what I'm hearing, Mark's hearing the same thing, so you could deduct whatever you want to deduct. It's not like there's been an offer that's been rejected, there's been a lowball, none of that. There's a lot going on right now, and they want to absorb as much of that money as they can this year, which is why they did the clerical, whatever you want to call it, move, where it basically saved $5 million this year off the cap. Still accounts for what, 55 as opposed to 59 or 59.5, whatever. Right. So they did. They want to take as much of that. Now, again, I know this is a very volatile issue. I get caught up in it, and it gets annoying. But it's what we do, right? I'm not saying keep them or not keep them. I'm telling you, there has been no offer. Dak's not upset. It's a mutually agreed upon thing. November, just remember that number or that month, November. If there's a deal done, it will be after the start of the season for a lot of different reasons. So I'm just telling you, that's what I'm hearing. If they move on and they don't have plans to keep him beyond this year, guys, then why the hell are we playing him this year? Rip the Band-Aid off and play Trey Lance, whether we think he's ready or not. If they decided that he's not the guy, which I don't believe that's the case, but I'm throwing it out there. Why are we riding out, so we can win another 10, 11 wins? No, play the young guy and see what he's got. He's had enough, Let
me get this one question here that the Real One fan said. Baker and Cousins didn't get max contracts. Remember that. True, Baker Mayfield didn't, but Baker Mayfield, I'm sorry, his season this year, 64% completions, 4,000 yards, 28 TDs, 10 interceptions. I don't remember him being a finalist for MVP. And Kirk Cousins still got a $180 million deal. I don't think people for some reason think that Kirk Cousins, got a bare bones deal. He got $45 million a year, a $180 million deal. That's bigger than what Dak Prescott's contract was originally. So, and he ruptured his Achilles. Yeah. Okay. So, yes, nobody's saying that those guys deserve the max contract, but you got a guy who was a finalist 2 of the last 3 years for MVP. Just saying. But anyway, what do I know? I'm a guy with a day job and a voodoo doll.
Just real quick, Tayana says, Space Cowboy is one of the more even-keeled, level-headed content creators. I can listen to him all day. So there you go. Tay likes some Space Cowboy media. What's up, Ron the Don? What's up, buddy?
Okay, and so back to the whole Dak Prescott.
I just want to make it be known.
Well,
it's not over yet, people. Everybody's writing them off.
Yeah, I'm on that. Brian and I have talked about Dak, and sometimes longer than we would like to. I think the conversation just kind of keeps coming back around in circles. I think it's funny because a lot of the people that are on those talking head shows are the same ones that were bashing Dak Prescott throughout the whole years. And now you're talking about, there's a little glimpse of possibly moving on, and they jump on that. And of course, it's news for them. But when I look at these contracts with Dak, it's like I've said with him, you've already gone through the growing pains of all those years where he was going to, become at least a decent quarterback. When I look at the Cowboys and their playoff troubles, he's not the one I look at. I automatically look at the defense and seeing what they weren't able to do. All these great quarterbacks at least need a defense that keeps them in the game. So when they do get going, boom, here, they can start their magic. Now, with Space Cowboys, I think it really hits it on the head when he's talking about the contract negotiation with Dak. I think it's a different time around. It's like going on a date with someone, it's like, I tried to go to the club with them and they didn't like it and stuff. And maybe this next time we go out, it's a little bit quieter and stuff. It's just the same thing. Negotiations, they don't like it, all fast and everything. They just want to take their time and everything. So guess what? We're going to go ahead and romance them. But I think Mark as well, man, we're trying to get as much off that table for the next contract. And, but hey, if he's not the future, can't get gloom about it. It's just, let's move on. Let's be ready to move on and build around a younger person, if that's the case too.
Well, see, look at it this way though. Okay, if you take the bullet this year, okay, and you do end up getting that contract next year, then you're in a position to go ahead and say, we only have $40 million of dead money that we've got to go with. You know what I mean? And so you will be getting a bigger, ceiling there as far as the number contract, but you're not now trying to deal with $90 million. That's a hell of a lot of money that you're looking at and saying, we got to hide and do something with. Take the bullet this year, see what you got with Mike McCarthy and everything else and so on, which kind of brings me to my next question now, because what you're getting from all the talking heads is the Cowboys aren't re-signing players because they don't have the money to do it. And it's only because of Dak Prescott's contract. But we've seen when Dak Prescott was $680,000 for 3 years and then $2 million his fourth year, in which case the Cowboys did not extend him, had him playing on the last year of his contract. Basically a prove-it year, because I'm seeing somebody in the comments saying, what's wrong with making Dak Prescott prove it in the playoffs again? Nobody else has to prove themselves. Justin Herbert, did he need to prove himself before he got 51 last year?
No.
After losing, blowing a 27-0 lead in the first quarter? I didn't see him say he needs to prove it before he gets the bag. But be that as it may, he then had to prove it again on a franchise tag, because if he had gotten injured and been, oh, well, appreciate it, good luck. So now we're talking about this year, he's got to prove it again. This is the third time he's had to prove it. And I dare say gambling against Dak Prescott, which the Cowboys have been doing over and over again, he's all in. Jerry's all in and gambling everything, and he loses every time. So I wouldn't exactly bet against Dak. So we've lost a bunch of players. Is it doom and gloom, or are we going to do like we've done in the past and be able to replace them? And I'll bring this up as an example. Last year, the talking heads said the Cowboys made a mistake by letting Dalton Schultz go. You got a proven tight end there. Why are they letting him go? He has been the security blanket for Dak Prescott. And he ended up signing the $7 million deal last year. And
What the
I think
fuck is your...
No, what did he get? Did he get $36 million for 3 years now? And Jake Ferguson had a better season, who's on a rookie deal. So are we looking at, we really lost talent that's irreplaceable? Or do the Cowboys know the people that they have and believe they've got people that can step in as well as the draft? Go on.
I mean, look, this is what the Cowboys do, is they take guys that are backups and or depth, elevate them to starters. You get quality production, but then where they get bit when it comes to their failures is that the depth they fail to replace just isn't there. And we can look at how things happened last year when they needed to address linebacker when it got thin, and they didn't. And on top of that, I don't ask for the Cowboys to do much. I'm not saying they got to go sign everybody. They don't. what they have to do is when we talk about like the tiers of free agents they need to sign, they don't need to go out get tier one for. I think that the Cowboys, in terms of their talent, are top heavy. That's good. That's what you need. The problem is they don't have the guys in the middle of the roster to round it out. So when I say they need to go sign a tier 2 or a tier 3 guy, these are guys that are like fringe starters or starter quality guys that you're here for a year or two, and you go from there. We kind of saw how the Cowboys got bit last year, not because, okay, well, they made these moves to go get Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks, which, yes, those were good moves. I'm not going to just completely crap on the front office for every single move they make. That would be stupid of me. But when you go into a draft class and you're leaning way more on it every single time because you don't build the team through free agency, then what ends up happening is let's see, you have now your first 2 picks in that draft having shoulder surgery, not really being huge impacts, and then you're kind of relying on your top-heavy roster to do their thing. And I understand people will be like, but space, they're a talented team. They should be able to do these things. Again, I'm not absolving them of any poor performances. Yeah. But I'm just trying to tell it how it is, and that the Cowboys fail every year. In fact, we look at the numbers. They've only spent $11 million in terms of this offseason.
Like, how many behind the next closest?
$28 million. They're 20. So when they keep telling me, so when Steven Jones, Cowboy, keeps telling me, well, you know, we always are looking 2-3 years down the road to pay our guys. Well, the total spending's including paying your own dudes. And they're not even doing that. And again, I've said it many times on my channel. I've said it on Twitter or X, whatever we call it these days. I don't care what they do. If they want to rebuild this team, that's their decision. I'm cool with that. I have no problem with hitting the reset button, letting Dak walk, etc. But if they want to do that, they should be doing the proper steps like any proper front office would do and telling Dak, hey, we have no interest in paying you. We want to facilitate a trade. We can work with you. And they can kind of try to do what Seattle did, because Russell Wilson's an example of someone that had a no trade clause waiting. In fact, he was supposed to go to Philadelphia and he said no. But this team always gets stuck in the middle, in the sense of they don't want to go one way or the other. They're content with where they're at. And if they're not, and if they don't like the results, whether that be from the coaching staff, the players, they need to make those changes. And that's where I think the energy needs to be directed to the front office more so, because they're the ones that ultimately make these decisions. And I don't trust them a whole lot to go out in free agency and sign the right guys. I don't trust them to make the necessary moves to get us over the top, you know? And
yeah,
it is what it is.
Listen, well, first, let me get to my super chat. Mark Hutchins, shout out to you, my man. Quarterback is the least of my worries. We need to worry about the offensive line and the offensive backs. We need... Mark Hutchins, I think we need to improve both lines, and I think Space hit it on the head when he first started the stream. I think we need a couple offensive linemen. Give me a center, give me, a left tackle. But like if we can get a stud center and get a couple D tackles, or at least one D tackle and linebacker, I think obviously we need a running back. I get it, but I just want everybody to remember this date, April 29th, the Monday following the draft. We all have to remember that the Joneses, especially Stephen Jones, they love their comp picks. They love those comp picks. They don't want to lose comp picks. And we all know that if you sign a free agent with any kind of money, you're going to take away a pick that you might be getting. April 29th, Monday, 4 o'clock following the draft, any player that you assign does not take away from the following year's comp picks. So just remember, there is an absorbent amount of talent still out there. It's not the top, the high end, top of the market talent, but they're going to wait until the draft. They're going to fill as many holes as they possibly can. I really think they need to trade down. I don't care who's at this point. I don't care who's on the board, minus a couple guys, and we can get into that or not. But they need to acquire picks that they need to draft, and then that Monday there'll be plenty of guys. There'll be players released, and there's already still plenty of people out there we could get. So that's my opinion. Everybody's all worried that we didn't get anybody. Is it frustrating? Yeah, I wanted Hankins, and I don't like how they're treating Gilmore. I don't like how they're treating him. Whether we could agree, I just don't agree.
Jerome Nichols says Stephen Jones wants to be like Billy Bean and play Moneyball, except he isn't that bright.
Yeah.
And this is all market team. Well, I agree with you on that, but
Comp picks haven't equated to shit, says Sight and Trops.
Well, here's the thing. Now, somebody also commented and said it's crazy that we're trying to pay him before he does anything. Hate to tell you, but that's what the contracts are about. The contracts are not about what you've done in the past. The contracts are what we think that you can do in the future. That's why you pay them.
Yes.
And so, sorry, that's the way it works. It's because you've been seeing, players play great and they don't go back and say, you know what, you played great last year. We're going to, double your contract because you outperformed. It doesn't work that way. And in football, you have a shelf life, and every play could be your last play. And I'm not mad at the players for getting everything that they can, because I see Jerry Jones, with the 350-foot long yacht, couple of helicopters and billions of dollars. And without the players on the field, they're not getting that. So get what you can, because you're putting your life on the line. Regina Green in the house. What's up?
Phil.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, let me jump in on this region. I'll let everybody jump in there. I got to kind of piggyback on what Space was saying. I mean, when you look at this roster, there's stars. I mean, there's stars. There's obviously people that we're having to pay. We're talking about paying people, whether it's Micah, whether it's our CeeDee Lamb wide receiver over there, that he's waiting for Justin Jefferson to get paid before they even start talking about it. So I have to kind of say that it's that middle of the pack. You're relying on almost every single position. You're relying on somebody that hasn't proved anything. And they have potential, yes, but when you go to the running back position, you got Deuce Vaughn, you got Malik Davis, good. You got Rico, that was an okay sign to kind of give some backup to whoever's going to be there. But when you look at the tight end, other than Jake Ferguson, who's your depth? You have potential in a great one that got injured last year, and Stevenson, and then you got, of course, Schoonmaker that needs to prove himself. The offensive line, T.J. Bass, Brock Hoffman, those are ifs. You still got a draft there. The defensive line, we're hoping Sam Williams, now that he gets more playing time, so he'll be like a Dorrance Armstrong. We got Damone Clark that's doing okay. So there's a lot of what ifs, and everybody kind of needs to come together in order for it to work out. So that's a lot of gambles. It's just like kind of the draft to me, where you can pick 7 people, but that's not 7 starters. It's not 7 for 7 that you're picking. You're hoping that that's the case. But the fact that you're gambling on that many players to actually step up, that's a lot of players. And that's where I think they fall short as of right now in the roster. That's why I want to see what moves they make after the draft, the post June 1st, all these other moves that are going to be made. I'm interested to see what this roster forms into.
Okay. I want to actually get Space Cowboy in this. For those who don't know Space Cowboy, definitely check him out. Does a hell of a lot of work on Twitter, and I will say that his numbers and statistics I will take against anybody on ESPN. He's very, very analytical. And you were saying when we were talking in the green room, okay, actually we should say the blue room, the way Phil's channel just see a blue. In the blue room here, where you were going back and analyzing the Cowboys playoff games. One thing that was brought up by my brother from another mother, Law Nation, was a Colin Cowherd clip where he was talking about how when the Cowboys have 30 or more rushes in a game, that he's got a record like Pat Mahomes. When they don't rush for 100 yards, he's like 9-22 or something like that. And I know people will say, see, he's got to have a running game. Well, if you'll remember with Emmitt Smith, the Cowboys were 57-19 when he rushed for 100 yards. So even the great Troy Aikman needed a running game. So, Space, what were you were talking about looking back at the playoff games, the problems that we had?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I see is that we have a problem controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, especially when you go back and look at the losses. Really, the only time that we've maybe been in a situation where it's been an even fight was this, that being the first playoff game that Dak Prescott had in his career as a rookie. And, there are moments where I see in those playoff games, he gets this deer in the headlights look, and I don't like it because it just feels like he just zones out. But the other part of it too is that I've said it multiple times that Dak is no Pat Mahomes. He's no alien. He is not going to single-handedly carry you to a championship. So the part of building a team is to recognize the person you have and feel, if you feel like this is not the guy you want to build around, then you go find another dude. But if you feel like he is the guy, then it's your responsibility to build around him. And we've seen in each of the last couple playoff losses, you've given up 143 rushing yards, 113 rushing yards, defensively, that is, 169 rushing yards, 273 rushing yards, which you probably know what game that fucking is. But then when you look at what we've done to try and control the line of scrimmage offensively when we're trying to run the ball or anything of that nature with what we've put into the running back position or even the offensive line, 47 rushing yards from your running backs. You got 45 rushing yards from your running backs, 48, 78. Like that's, we kind of looked at how some of these teams in the playoffs have succeeded, and it's about controlling the line of scrimmage. And I don't give a shit who the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is, frankly. What matters to me is, why is it that we go into a playoff game and you can't even just do that? It's the same thing. And that's something that I've noticed, is that it doesn't matter if Dak plays well, he plays like crap, or average. It's been a same song and dance where we haven't done that on either side of the ball, even with a Micah Parsons, even with all the star-studded dudes that you can name. And I understand that years past, our defense has not been given the proper resources, but I mean, I just kind of find it hard to pin the blame on a singular man when it's the whole team that's flawed. And I've been screaming that from the rooftops. And again, if that means that you have to get rid of the quarterback to build around the next guy, even though the Cowboys tried doing that between Romo and Dak, they've shown no propensity to spend money, then I don't care. It's going to just be the same results. You look at what a team like, I hate to use this team's example, not even the Eagles, but the Chiefs, because I understand they're on a dynastic run. They made some trades with star players because they felt like contracts, whatever the hell. You took the picks, you added on to a defense that was able to, control the line of scrimmage. And honestly, it was the Chiefs defense that led them to their championship this year. You look at the 49ers, have controlled the line of scrimmage. Yeah, like that's where I get frustrated with the Cowboys, is that they are unwilling to put those resources in. And I shouldn't be in a position where I'm getting pissed off when you lose one dude on your defense in the run game. Now it all falls apart. Or if one of your offensive linemen isn't playing well, then the whole operation falls apart. And I know it's a bit of a long-winded answer, and people might think I'm absolving Dak of blame. I mean, dude, you can't throw a pick six in a playoff game, or you can't make these bad turnovers. Of course not.
Everything's magnified in the playoffs.
But of course everything's magnified. But I think that, to me, there's a reason the Cowboys have not won a championship in the last 30 years. I mean, I'm 25 years old, going on 26 years old, and I can tell you that seeing two franchise dudes or they claim they're franchise dudes, and Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, these were the same conversations that were happening after the 2012 season, if I remember correctly. Like, oh, the Cowboys have the opportunity, or 2011 season. Oh, they should move on from Tony Romo. They should go get a quarterback, which I think people need to understand. And when I say I don't care what they do, like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, look, I don't want them to re-sign Dak Prescott, because I feel like that they're using him as a crutch to make excuses for them not wanting to do their job. And honestly, I'm okay with the change. But everyone's going to keep saying that I'm a Dak fan and this, that, and sure, he's on the back of my wall. I support any player on the team unless you're being a jackass.
I support the logo first and foremost. I got to get a couple super chats too, but go ahead.
Yeah. Sight and Trope says rumors are that Jones bet against the Cowboys in the playoffs, and the feds will start an investigation.
That's how they make their money. That makes sense.
He sent me a super chat too, so you just knocked it out. Let me get to Mark Hudson. We only have mediocre offensive linemen at quarterback is only as good as the line. Mark Hudson, I agree with you, my man. And I just real quick, I agree with Space. I'm not locked into Dak, but again, until you have a better answer, I don't know what. This is what I want everybody to understand. Everybody's saying, "Oh my God, you can't do 16 million." Yeah, you can. See, this new if
they were to, this year.
If they were to re-sign Dak Prescott, it's not going to cause an issue. It's going to be a 5-year deal. They'll add a couple void years. It's not a big deal. When they re-sign CD, it's going to lower the cap. When they re-sign Micah, it's that might hurt a little bit, but
Hold on. But let's just stop for a second here.
What's up, David?
I just had a brain aneurysm.
I know
because
I smelled something burning.
I was driving today, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get a text message from Philly Vibe with nothing with it, just laughing. And I'm like, what? Just random laughing at us? And then he sends me a thing with, Howie has got with all the people that they've signed this year. Now, keep in mind, they paid their quarterback. He's $51 million a year. They took a $34 million deadhead a few years ago for Carson Wentz. They ended up signing Barkley and everybody and their sister. Now, they did lose Hassan Reddick, but they got $45 million of money for next year and still have like $30 million right now.
Yeah,
the
2 years
problem
it kicks
is
in.
the Cowboys don't know how to manage the damn cap. Here it is. We're just talking about one quarterback. Atlanta, they drafted a quarterback first round. They just signed a $180 million deal with Kirk Cousins. We can't sign any free agents, can't hold our own guys, and we can't seem to get a quarterback contract together. You know how many quarterbacks make more money than Dak Prescott? 13. Now,
Is that with endorsements and stuff too?
Forget these. You know what?
With that mattress shit.
If you're playing good, this whole thing, just because you're a Cowboy player, you're going to get endorsements. How many endorsements did Andy Dalton get?
Oh, I think he got like a car sales thing.
Okay. Now, here's the real issue. Here's the real issue here, because when you think about Dak Prescott's rookie year, and he went toe for toe, had 3 touchdown passes against Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers makes a miracle play in the end, and they win. You know what's crazy is Zeke Elliott had 125 yards in that game, 5.7 yards a carry.
That's probably the last time a running back actually went over 100 yards.
Yeah. In 2018, he played 2 games and had 184. So he averaged.
So he got paid more money than he got paid.
Okay. He went from 5.7 to 4 yards per game. In 2021, he had 31 yards on 2.6. In 2022, he had 53 yards in 2 games for a 2.3 yards per carry. All we hear about is in 2021, the Cowboys were loaded and Dak Prescott failed. When you go into the playoffs and you are running, your lead back is getting 2.6 yards a carry, you're fucked. Thoughts?
I mean, how the hell else are you supposed to win a playoff game when you're one-dimensional? Like, if I'm an opposing defensive coordinator and I can stop the run and I'm forcing the Cowboys to pass, especially if I get a lead in that game. Like, I'm not, like, anybody can see that. And I think that that's the thing.
No space. Not everybody can see that.
Oh, no one. Okay.
No,
I mean,
nobody sees when the defense can't stop a run. Nobody sees when the running backs can't run the football. Nobody sees that the offensive line can't block. All they see is Dak Prescott and say, "Well, he threw 2 picks. He threw 2 picks, and we lost." It's Dak. We just need to get another quarterback because he can't rise to the occasion.
I mean, look, Dak didn't play well. I don't think he did whatsoever.
Not early.
And that's just the honest opinion of it, is that when you make mistakes, like if we're talking about this, I'm just saying this last playoff game, I will say you can't, even if, look, Dak accounted for 14 points because of his 2 interceptions, regardless of what we want to say. But the fact that my defense could not give me a break to try and mount a comeback. Look, I don't give a shit if I'm down 28-0 at home. Mm-hmm. We've seen comebacks before, and the part of it has to be you need to make stops. And for God's sake, we bring up Justin Herbert. He was a part of a team that was up 26-0 against Jacksonville, and Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions, yet they still managed to come back. Wow. And I think that, like, if my defense can't give me a stop, and you're asking the quarterback to play perfect, I mean, and he's not playing well, you're going to lose that game.
And your running backs aren't doing it.
Right, because you don't have any ability to run the football because you're basically boned from the first. Like that's when I knew the playoff game was over. Was when Dak threw the pick six. It's like, all right, dude, there's no way in hell that they're gonna mount this.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I talk about before with the deer in the headlights look is just. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you tangibly what it is, but every time that we get into this flow, like it's like what the hell? Like it's like you got hit in the head, and you're like, whoa, like what the hell happened? And I just don't really care at this point with what they want to do. If Dak was at fault for the playoff game, all right, whatever, then move on. Like I that's the part that I don't understand is that when I keep saying that, hey, I give the context. I said that I don't have a problem with moving on. It's still not enough for me to say that, like what else? Like, I mean, hey, we've seen if we've seen enough, we've seen enough. I'm okay with moving on. And if the Cowboys feel like that's the right move, look, if you want to draft a quarterback in round 1, I have no quarrel with that. Absolutely not. I just think you just need to manage the situation right, like any front office would. That's all.
I have to look at it as well too, though. Like, okay, let's say somehow they're able to pull off something, or they decide to go with the young guy and stuff. Do you feel good about putting a young guy behind this offense right now?
You'll ruin them.
Yeah, I mean the offensive line to me that's the weakness. I mean, Space is saying it. It's like the interior of both lines. The fact that as soon as Fredericks went out of that lineup, the running game went down every year. You're paying these running backs top dollar to have to do nothing, but you're not giving them anything. As much as Tyler Biotis was at least a substitute, he wasn't pushing forward. There was no push in the line. Why the reason why we went away from Connor Williams and he went to Miami because there was no push and he was just getting bulldozed by power. Yeah. So we just need to get back to the basics of just getting on people and pushing them around.
Yeah, and I think that leads into Mike Zimmer. And, just like with Sledhead's comment, Packers won the game throwing the ball. They won the game every which way.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. They could flip a coin, whatever they want.
Dan Quinn has to take a big responsibility for the loss. Yes, it wasn't any one player. We can sit here and say, Dak played horrible. Yeah, don't look at the final passing numbers. That was all garbage. But, he played horrible. But so did the defense. The whole scheme, playing zone when they're not a zone really playing team. Mike Zimmer, what he does best is disguise. He loves to blitz the A gap. He likes bigger boys. He likes playing press man on the outside. These are all things that I love in a defense that I'm glad are back. Nothing against Dan Quinn. I'm not throwing any shade on him at the door. He took another job, but I think it's going to help this team. I think it's going to help this team. I just want people, and if we're going to start talking about the draft or whatever, I don't want anybody to get caught up in any one name. They need bodies.
Man. You're going to get heartbroken, man.
They need bodies, and I've been doing a lot of mock drafts, and the best thing we could do is trade out of the first round. I know everybody wants that fifth-year option, but unless you're getting a quarterback,
I've said it before on there.
Then is it really worth it? I mean, I just would try and get like another 3 and another 4. Let's trade back to like the high 20s, and then maybe trade back again into the mid 30s. Stock up the top 100 picks. Get your center, get your running back, get your linebacker, get your D tackle, and then, like I said, once that Monday after the draft, then you could fill in the holes. It's not as bad as people think. But I am interested. I just want everybody to know I'm interested to see Trey Lance get as many reps as we possibly can. We gave up a 4th-round pick, which now, in retrospect, the Joneses did a horrendous job, evaluating the market, in my opinion. We overpaid yet again. And Mark, the floor is yours, but they overpaid yet again. And I like Trey Lance, but nobody...
This is the problem for the Cowboys is we pay too much when we get somebody, and we don't get enough in return when we trade somebody. So for everybody that says blow it up and rebuild, are you really going to trust these guys? Because now, they gave up the 4th-round pick for Trey Lance, and you see where everybody else is gone, price-wise, through there. When you see Amari Cooper, we only got a 5th round when here it is, A.J. Brown was the number 1 pick. Do we actually think that if they traded Micah Parsons that they would get value for him, that we'd end up getting like when Chicago got from the Raiders? Khalil Mack. Do we expect them to get a trade like that? No. Everybody lowballs us and charges us more. So to think that, for everybody out here saying, trade Dak, well, you got a value. If you could get him to trade, you think you're going to get, 3 or 4 #1 picks for him? You're not. We're talking about the Joneses.
And by that logic, if Dak Prescott's a terrible quarterback and he can't win in the playoffs, then no team should trade for him. By that time, so we can't have it both ways. But look, I don't know what, I'm not a pure expert. I don't know what you do. All I can say is that you can really go either route. And do I trust the Cowboys to rebuild? Not really, if I'm just being honest. Mm-hmm. But if they give Trey Lance I've reached the point where I just don't care what they want to do. They can do whatever they damn well please. I think that in terms of what you brought up, Mark, for the trade compensation, the Cowboys have had a problem like this for years now. They've always overvalued guys. And I think it also comes down to how teams interact with the people in the front office. There are certain teams that do not want to trade with you. A good example of this is the New York Jets.
Definitely.
Joe Douglas and Stephen Jones perpetually hate each other. And this is not good business if you are someone that works in a front office that handles these things, because if you're trying to build your team up, you need to be able to go to any team, have a conversation about any player that you want to get rid of or bring in, and properly build the team. If you can't have those conversations, then that's a lifeline of trying to rebuild that you don't have. And by the way, that's not even just players, draft picks too. And so do I think they can maybe get a 1st-round pick or 2 for Dak Prescott? Yeah, I think some team would definitely do that. But again, I don't know how those negotiations would go. For all I know, they could just fuck around and they could just be like, hey, 1st-round pick's good enough for us. And I don't know. I think that Micah Parsons should net you several 1st-round picks, knowing the talent he is. For God's sake, you could look at a guy like Brian Burns, who's a fantastic player. He was supposed to be traded to the Rams, I believe, for a 1st and a 3rd. I could be wrong on that. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But you can get value. The Cowboys just have this weird thing. But to that point about getting Trey Lance, I didn't have a problem with it because from what I understand, the Cowboys wanted to use the 4th-round selection where they got Junior Fehoko, and instead of that, going after Aiden O'Connell as a developmental quarterback. So I don't have a problem if you want to add dudes into the room for competition to see, because we got to understand that Dak Prescott, he is now outside of 30, not outside of 30, but you know what I mean? He just turned 30. Right. He's going to be 31 this year. We understand he's had some injury concerns, except for last year. He managed to play all 17 games, which is fantastic. You can't ask for more, but you always had to be prepared. That's my thing. And sometimes the Cowboys don't, not even sometimes, they don't prepare for that. Well, they didn't prepare. Yeah.
Here's the question, though. Okay, so if everybody's out there saying, well, they should draft, a quarterback right now, then if you need to, say you need to draft a quarterback, then why did you trade for Trey Lance? If you're literally saying we need to draft a quarterback, then why?
Well, Dak, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I wake up in the morning, I piss
draft class. Something would have to give. Even if you drafted a quarterback, how are you going to balance that through the year? You got Trey Lance. You got to let Cooper Rush go. You got Trey. Something has to give there to keep that guy on the roster. We saw when we tried to dangle Ridgeway, a whole bunch of other players, and everybody just kind of got snatched up. So they're not really good at doing that. So it's just like, if you're not going to commit to having that guy from the draft in your roster, then it's almost a waste of a pick just to go for a quarterback this draft.
Well, here's the problem with Trey Lance is you're not going to, well, I don't assume they're going to pick up the 5th-year option on him.
No, they already, apparently I was wrong.
You're saying, let's go draft a quarterback this year. If you're drafting a quarterback this year, you're looking for him long-term, then you're not going to sign Trey Lance at the end of next year.
See, that's the thing that I get. Yeah, you can't have him signed if you have Dak signed. Sense. Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think Trey is going to go a lower contract to be a backup. I think he's going to try to go somewhere to become the starter.
What they would potentially get is another comp pick, and maybe best
maybe get
case,
that 4th back.
Yeah, and it won't.
Yeah, but your comp pick Okay, you
Maybe.
think that
That's
if
what
he
you.
doesn't play, if he doesn't play, how much do you think somebody's going to pay Trey Lance?
Well,
to come?
That's what I'm saying, though. Yeah,
You might
that's
get
the
a
question.
fifth or a sixth, and you gave up a fourth.
no, yeah. I mean, I
To
get
be
it.
your backup. Yeah.
I swear they were willing to roll the dice, and use him as leverage, whether they want to admit it or not. I think it all goes into the pot. This is the Joneses here. They want
like
to
the
use
competition.
everything. They use their own media. They, and
Yeah.
a lot of
Jane
times their
Slater.
own media doesn't even realize they're being used.
Poor Jane.
Yeah, Jane Slater. I mean, they
Poor
just
thing.
throw out things, and I
Yeah,
love
man.
Jane.
They're like her. Yeah, exactly. We like her. She's like her accuracy is like 10% because of the crap that they feed her. You know, it's not her fault.
But it's.
I mean,
it's
They don't even know what they're
frustrating.
gonna do.
Go ahead, man.
Dak won't get re-signed. Cowboys will be in purgatory for a long time with Steven in charge. Free agents will they will sign after
Fine, man.
bet minimums and choke in the playoffs. And Jerome Nichols, shout out to you. I see two different bad aspects. Number one, our guys are too entitled and don't play in big games. Two, the Joneses don't address team needs, and you can't build an entire team in the draft. Roy Cooper was the last defensive tackle, and we still need defensive tackles. So then that brings another then question. Shout out to Jerome Nichols and Sight and Tropes. Is why is it that our stars don't come out to shine in the big moments? Micah Parsons in 4 playoff games has 1 sack. We saw CD, who says he wants to be the highest paid, not show up early in the game, and his head was not in it. He says, I need to go up. So why is it that we have this issue of we them boys, but we're not them boys in the playoffs?
I mean, look at these. I mean, do we have champions on this team? Do we have people that have won national titles, high school championships? Like, that's my question. I mean, do they have those winning pedigrees with these guys in?
What the hell happened?
I have to wrap a lot with the game plan. I mean, where was the game plan majority of the time? It's Parsons is getting blocked and triple teamed and stuff, but you don't try to help him. You don't try to scheme to try to get him over there. I think Dan Quinn. I think what's going to happen with that scheme, that whole thing when he's over in Washington, is the negative that he had over with the Cowboys is going to be a positive for Washington, because in Dallas, he was up in the stands. He was up above, not with his players talking. I always thought he was a better person when he was talking, kind of like Al Harris when he's in there. And Washington, he's obviously going to be on the field because he's going to be the head coach. So he's going to be in their face. He's going to be telling them. So I expect him to be a lot better. But it's just this team. I'm just so, I can't rely on a whole bunch of young guys, because you tell me, like, a majority of these guys are young. This is already rebuilt. As much as we wanted, we got Dak, we got Micah, we got all these other guys, but we got 75% of the roster, probably 80% of the rosters are young dudes that need to prove it. So to me, it's already rebuild mode. But hey, we're capable of at least winning. So,
Brad Harris, real quick.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, to me, I've always said it's a culture problem, because there's always this glitz and glamour that comes with the Dallas Cowboys, and it doesn't feel like the same hunger is there from the top down. Teams are built from the top down, not from the bottom up. When Jerry Jones got here to Dallas, he had a hunger to put money into this team, make it a winning team, and then after he got that, then it kind of feels like it is what it. I understand that that's just a very simple way of putting it, but I hate this whole narrative like they're nervous come playoff time, because we heard that. I'm not using the Garrett period of time. I'm talking about now. Of course, we're here and now. We hear it in 2021. And Mike McCarthy comes in and says, well, our guys were nervous, which is egregious to say, because he was a coach, are responsible for making sure our guys are not nervous and come out like a bunch of dumbasses and just embarrass themselves on national television. But it happened. Then it happened again. There wasn't really the talk of them being nervous, and then I keep hearing this thing. Like, bro, you've been to the playoffs 3 straight times.
You know,
And it's like
this year, though. You know what? I think it was more cocky.
Oh, I agree. I
This
think
year,
they came in with a
once we got home field advantage.
Dude, every year that
the
they were
Dallas Cowboys, they've won 16 straight at
Let's
home.
be real.
You know, they're going to get a couple. Sometimes I think they buy into the hype.
Well, every time they got cocky this year, they got their
playing the
bubble.
Green Bay Packers, man. You know, we beat the Lions, we beat the Eagles, man. You know, you literally had Sam Williams and whoever else that were advertising the victory party the next night. They went there, you know, we got this, and they got bitch slapped. That's what happened to the team.
Yeah.
That's
Brad
what happened.
Harris.
They were overconfident. We're playing at home. It wasn't nervous. You got punked.
Yeah, Brad,
No
thanks
ifs,
for the
ands, or
super
buts
chat,
about
buddy.
it. By the time you woke up and realized we're in a
But
dogfight,
like
it
they're
was too
dropping
damn-
passes. They're, you know, it just to me everything. It doesn't seem is that what it is? When I look at the receivers dropping passes and those things, it's to me it's a lot of nerves. Like they just the moment's getting to them. I think Romo had that problem a lot of the times, you know, just until the later part of his career. But a lot of those times, those moments got too big for him, and he kind of just, you know, got engulfed by the pressure. And I think, man, I hate to say it, but I mean, that defense, like, what was it? Like, to me, Dan Quinn, what was that? Like, Brian brought it up. Green Bay was terrible against man-to-man coverage. I mean, that's what the Dallas defense did.
Mhm.
And we just changed it all up. You know, there's a lot of frustration. So I'm interested to see what Zimmer does, but I don't like the fact that the first move Zimmer does is bring in Carl Davis. You know, I didn't see anything from him to even want to bring him in as a camp
Big body. These are rotational. Brad Harris, let me get to my super chat, please. I don't want Dak to stay, but I will agree with Bryant.
You're muted, my guy.
No,
Sorry,
I'm not
having a
muted.
problem with my camera's broadcast media here.
Oh,
All right. Yeah, well, I got shot out and came back in. I don't want Dak to stay, but I will agree with you, Brian. As long as we win a Super Bowl, it won't matter our QB or who our QB is. I just subscribed to Space Cowboy Media, so you got another subscriber.
Nice.
Space. Brad Harris is a good man.
There we go.
So thanks, Brad. Thanks for the super chat, my man.
Thank you.
I just wanted I didn't know I got shot out, but I didn't have it muted, but I looked on the screen and it was muted, so I don't know. Who knows? I'm back.
Computer having some
No,
issues.
Mine is good, but I got shot out.
Service.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yes. Citing Tropes is over here talking about how the Joneses have fixed games.
Yeah,
and
well,
so
hey, you send the
they're
super
happy to
chat,
see-
so you know, hey, keep them coming. But I don't know where that comes from.
But here's the thing that's kind of
Randy
crazy.
Side has a super chat for you, Brian.
Does
the
he?
thing that's kind of
I
crazy
can't get to it, so
we still seem to have the same issues that we've had forever. Okay, Dan Quinn.
But Jerry Jones,
think about 20. Okay, now for everybody that says we had the team on 2021, I want to go back to 2020 and say, you remember how bad
I
our
would say the
defense was?
defense. I don't remember the defense being good. Like,
Okay, our defense was historically bad. We gave up more points in 2020 than any other
it made us
year
question
ever in the history
LVE
of
the rest of
NFL.
the way.
Okay, and we went 6-10. So then to turn around, everybody says, well, 21, we had a great team. But if I remember right, Zeke Elliott hyperextended his knee midway through the season and dropped about a yard per carry. Tony Pollard was dealing with plantar fasciitis. Michael Gallup was having injury issues and going in and out the lineup. Tyron Smith got injured late in the season. Oh, shit. My computer is still...
it's not looking good there,
Okay.
Mark. You're paused. You've been paused on my screen.
He's got his good side though.
Let me get to my super chat before we get zonked out. Okay, let me. Oh yeah. Let me get to this before we lose it.
I'll be right back.
All right, sir.
Okay, let me ask you guys.
Keep talking.
We will.
We will. Just need you to go.
My Lord. Okay, let me ask you guys: Is this team right now a championship team? And if not, how many pieces away are the Cowboys from being a championship team? Space first, followed by prime time.
So, in terms of, is this team right now
Yeah, he wants to.
Okay, be honest. This team is not a.
I agree with you.
This team is not a championship team, and if you're asking how many pieces they are away from being a championship team on offense, I think that they need to solidify their offensive line depth. I think otherwise, and add some pieces to their running game and fix how they run the football. Otherwise, they're fine offensively. I have no problem with how they pass the ball or anything like that. On the secondary side of things, they need to invest in their linebacker position. They need to seriously beef up the interior of their defensive line. I understand they added Mozzie Smith. I get that. But this team is nowhere close to being a championship team. And just because I say all that, I don't mean the team is bad. I think the team will get into the playoffs again, and they'll, depending on matchup, they might win a playoff game. But right now, as they're constructed, no, they're definitely nowhere near a championship team.
Okay, Phil.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely not putting them as a championship team. I'm barely putting them above 500 mark. Just because, like, I think they are. They're a good enough team to be a contender to a playoff team, but definitely not enough to make a push for a championship. For me, they're like 6 or 7 players away, really. Because you look at, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. You look at the running back, you need a running back. You need somebody that's going to block for you, that's going to run back there. You need an offensive center. You need, as much as Hoffman was great at West Virginia, he's a captain and everything. He's coming off an ACL whole thing. I need somebody in there. I need some other offensive linemen as well. So there's 2 right there. That's 3. I need defensive tackle. I need a linebacker. I need a corner, because I can't trust Jordan Lewis is going to stay healthy through the whole year and be my slot guy. And can I trust that Eric Scott's going to step up as well too? So to me, there's like 6 guys that I would at least feel like they need in order to push for a championship.
There he is, Mark Holmes. Welcome.
Hey, Mark, welcome to the chat, man. The Godfather.
Welcome to the live stream.
Sorry, people.
I was able to get to my super chat, so it didn't bother me.
Okay, well, my apologies. I have my laptop. See, this is my traveling roadshow, which was usually what I would take to say, like, the draft that we're going to in like 3.5 weeks, guys.
Bang.
Yeah, it's coming right up.
Getting excited. Yeah. Space, are you going at all?
I'm gonna start remembering Space Cowboy when we plan these trips. He's right. He's close to me. He might want to go.
He's right there. You just pick him up.
Well, I text him from time to time. He's got me started here. So, but he doesn't reach out to me.
In the house. Shout out to Lola.
Nah, yeah, I got you. It's all good. I'm busy that particular week of the draft, and I got to stay here. So, but I appreciate the offer. That's for sure.
Yeah, we got to go do a game or something, man. In Big D.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my apologies. Again, I'm going to probably have to, because I'm here trying to do what I do at home. Sometimes with the laptop, it gets overheated because it's the multiple screens and everything else, the mixers and things. So I did, and I thought it was cured because it hadn't done it all week. Of course, now when I got a great cast around me and stuff, it just acts up. It's it gives me a hard way to go. But you know how it is when it's broken.
I like that double screen that you had on your laptop. That's what I need to get for mine.
Well, see, here's the thing is with this screen back here, I've actually got 4 screens because trying to see the chat, see the streaming software and things, and any thing else we want to pop in here. So forgive me. I'm going to probably end up getting a desktop here sometime in the near future. That's why I'm running all over the place and doing these extra jobs because, if you want something, you got to go out and get it yourself. Ain't nobody going to get it.
Get it down, dude.
So the thing is, I was telling you guys earlier that I was looking because all this stuff feels like deja vu.
Oh, man. Yeah, every year.
Doug Gottlieb 4 years ago said the Cowboys should just move on from Dak Prescott. And what they should do is trade up with the Lions to be in a position to draft Tua. And you'll remember people were saying tank for Tua. And his thing was you'll probably have to give up a couple of number ones, maybe Jalen Smith, and maybe a couple of other picks to move up there to get that far. If we had drafted Tua in 20 and gave up our first and second picks, that would have been Micah and CD, and who knows what other picks that we would have given up. Would we have been better off in that situation? Is that a possibility? What could happen to us now? Could we be in quarterback purgatory? You could say what you want to say about
definitely drafting another quarterback.
Well, you could say what you want to say about Kirk Cousins, but if you look at the Commanders who franchise tagged him twice, they would have been in better shape had they kept Kirk Cousins instead of all of the players that they went through. And here's one of those things that's also interesting is when you look at some of the quarterbacks that have left and won Super Bowls, Peyton Manning was one, of course. They had Andrew Luck that they thought was going to be the guy. When you think about Kurt Warner, they had Eli Manning. He goes to the Cardinals and gets to a Super Bowl. And I'm trying to think of who else is on that. Oh, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, they thought that they were going to be moving on and had the guy that was going to be there drafting in the first round, but that didn't work out too good for him. The Cowboys, if they move on from Dak, if there doesn't sound like they've got anybody that they're looking at that's going to be the heir apparent. Am I wrong? Do you leave and give up on a guy who's been an MVP finalist 2 of the last 3 years? A guy who's been breaking Cowboys records and say, it's okay, we can just find another quarterback. Is that logical?
I think it depends on the approach. I think the problem is with how the Cowboys are currently constructed. You have a lot of young dudes coming into their prime. And given with how quarterbacks typically operate, they're usually good until 35 plus. I think that's starting to shift to the older age. If some of these quarterback prospects we can fall in love with, but it's all about where they land, how the team builds around them, and also what's the timeline of the team. If the team is in a situation where they're completely bottomed out and they don't make any moves or just trade all the pieces away, you get a situation where you go like 2-15, like the Panthers. I know it's a very recent memory, but I like to, because it's here and now. I will say, like, you might have a situation where you could be like the Texans, where you go out, you start adding these pieces, you be aggressive, you get your dude, and you could do that. But if
actually, this is actually interesting because they got a king's ransom for Deshaun Watson. I think they still have another pick this year because of that. But they were also bad for 2-3 years, so they were able to draft over and over and over again. Are Cowboy fans prepared to be bad for 2, 3, 4 years, possibly?
I don't know about the majority of Cowboys fans, but I'm okay with going through that process if they do it right. But that's the thing. That's the key thing, though. They have to do it right, which I don't have faith in that. But the thing is, and this is what I want to be very clear on, is that it's not like Madden where you can just plug and play another dude and it's majestically going to work out. I've seen teams get guys in the first round and they just are absolute crap. We're talking about dudes like Paxton Lynch, the Cowboys were looking at. I've seen dudes that looked fantastic in college. I understand I'm young, but looking back, and seeing what they put on, like a Jamarcus Russell, for example, a dude that had no work ethic, but he had all the God-gifted talent in the world. Trey Lance, a dude that had no opportunity, but it feels like he can't get into a rhythm because he doesn't have the ability. So it's kind of like by virtue of not having time, he can't really be, he's a bust by that metric. But I think the thing is that if the Cowboys feel like that they don't like who Dak is, they got to be like, all right, dude, let's go get someone else. But they can't come crying home and being like, well, at the end of the day, we got to get ready for that. Let's just throw Michael Penix out there because that's a name that's been like, 2 years down the road, we got to get ready for that Michael Penix contract, regardless of how well he performs, right? Like, no, you can't do that, because the point that I hear is Dak's making so much money, we can't build the team. All right, cool. So if that's the case, then if we go get someone else and they can't build around the team, or they don't, let me phrase that, don't build around the team, what are we going to do? Blame him, the new guy? I said this, and I know, Mark, you covered it in one of your videos. I said it when Dak was a rookie quarterback, regardless of, and even then he wasn't as good as he is now, being honest with you. And they've done nothing. Like, the Cowboys have this weird mindset where we need to take stuff away from our guys to make them prove themselves. But every other team has it to where if I know my guy needs these things to be successful, I'm going to go get him. The Eagles are a prime example of that. Like, look, We can say if Jalen Hurts is, but I don't give a shit. The fact is they understood who Jalen Hurts was, a young quarterback that's trying to find himself in this league. And, he had early success early on with that team and they got to the Super Bowl, but he wasn't asked to do a whole lot until the Super Bowl where he was playing his ass off. And that's the thing is like when you have a roster that is constructed around that's what you do when you have a dude on a rookie scale contract. Now he's got a different story. But that's my whole philosophy is that I don't have a problem if they want to go get someone else.
Well,
but
Satan Trope says that I'm the definition of insanity because I'm saying to do the same thing over and over again. It's not what I'm saying to do. I look at it and say, look, Space Cowboy just said, the Eagles realize we don't know if Jalen Hurts is the guy. Let's put people around him to make him successful. And if everybody keeps saying, well, Dak Prescott can't elevate the team by himself, then why aren't we going through and trying to surround him with people that will help him succeed? Why aren't we going through if we know that you need a running game? And especially if you're going to go ahead and get a young quarterback, a running game is a quarterback's best friend. If we know that we have not been able to stop the run forever, why aren't we focusing on fixing those things? The one thing that actually gives me a little bit of hope is that Jerry Jones, when asked about the culture, and he said if the culture is running the football and stopping the run, then we have a culture problem. And as I look at all the free agents that have left, they're the guys that have been basically on the defensive line and the running back, and of course, your center. Those are guys that definitely relate in the issue of the problem we have. Now, the question will be is, will they do anything to improve those? And I think Mike Zimmer is the new chef. And I'm not trying to cook with the old stale shit they had in the cabinets. We couldn't stop the run with those guys we just let go that everybody's swearing we need. Maybe the Cowboys, which have been good, dare I say great, at getting bottom tier guys. Nobody was excited about Dante Fowler when they signed him. Nobody was happy about J-Ron Kerr saying, yeah, we got a safety. But it turned out those guys played well enough for us that, they're wanted elsewhere. And here's where I say maybe there is something to what the Joneses say. When we look at Dorrance Armstrong, nobody believed in Dorrance Armstrong taking over for Randy Gregory. And here it is. He played better than Randy Gregory, got paid. How do we know that Sam Williams isn't going to do the same thing? How do we know that Goldston can't do what Dante Fowler did? How do we know that Brock Hoffman can't be as good or maybe better than Biotish? And if those things are true and Mozzie Smith, who has put weight back on, gets an opportunity with a different coach who believes in fat guys, you might not be as bad as you think. And if they can get another offensive lineman, if they can get a legitimate running back, we might be where we were at least last year, where we're a playoff team. We've been left for dead the last 3 years. Nobody looked in free agency and said, that's a Super Bowl contender. Am I crazy? Yes, I
am. When I'm a little hung up in the sense that I like the idea. There's a part of me that likes the idea of moving away from Dak, getting, maybe a year or so down the road, like what Space says, where you're resetting yourself and actually building around a young guy. Because even when Dak was there and they had that rookie contract, we were still eating Tony Romo's contract as a top quarterback being paid. So it wasn't like we got to build this amazing team around him with all that money. So to us, we really haven't been able to do that for a while.
But hold up, bro. It wasn't all 4 years of his rookie contract.
Yeah, but the thing about it is we were paying a lot on their offensive line. There was a lot of big contracts on that offensive line. So to me, I don't feel like they've really had that opportunity to build around a young guy. But we've had those Quincy Carter years. We've had all those other ones, and it's hard to find a starting quarterback. So I think that's why I'm more on keeping him around, because it's a hard position to find.
The problem is the Cowboys have lucked into getting their last two quarterbacks.
Well, who's the running back you see in this draft that could come in here and really
wait. Let me go back to this one. The Cowboys lucked into Tony Romo because Sean Payton kept him around. They lucked into Dak Prescott because literally he was the left guy standing. They wanted Paxton Lynch. They wanted Johnny Manziel. They wanted Connor Cook. It was kind of like, oh, okay, I guess we'll take that guy. And it turns out he played the way he played. And, you think about after Troy, all of the guys that they just kept, it was just like, just throw some shit on the wall. Okay, Ryan Leaf, come on down, Anthony Wright, come on down. It was just quarterback flavors of they just kept trying. And I don't think that they can really find a quarterback. I honestly don't. Somebody, wake me up and let me know that they are smart enough to go through, because I see the highway littered with a whole lot of first round quarterbacks recently that suck ass.
Yeah. I mean, look, they'll find a quarterback. The ones that they look for are absolutely dreadful. And you can look back at, people don't understand. They looked at a guy like a Johnny Manziel and were this close to drafting them. People don't realize that
Martin.
Right. People don't realize they wanted to draft a Paxton Lynch in the first round. They even possibly contemplated looking at guys like Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. And look, you evaluate every player that's coming into the draft. I get that. But when there's a position for the Cowboys where they can be like, hey, maybe we got this dude. Like, dude, when you fumble into two dudes that play good enough football where if you build around them properly, you can win a championship, then
and still screw it up.
I mean, I can only right, like, bro, what do you want me to do?
But
here's the thing, is even if they get another dude.
Yeah,
right.
Even
if they get another dude.
Yeah. You go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
No. That's cool.
I'm just saying, like, they want to talk about how we can't pay anybody. We don't have the money. Like, they're trying to gaslight us saying, like, they can't, which I just feel like they don't want to do it. Honest to God. Like, the thing is when you touch contracts and you're moving them around, like you see the Eagles do, like you see every other goddamn team do, for the most part. When you restructure these contracts and you're opening up this money, you have to do it every single year. Like, that's how you continue to open up the cap space. The problem is the Cowboys just don't want to touch him. And that's fine. And I would believe you if that being the front office, if you're like, look, we're kind of strapped for cap. We're waiting to spend the money. Oh, okay. I got you. But like, to me, now's the time to strike while the iron's hot. You can't just go for 4 straight years telling me in this Mike McCarthy era, hey, we're saving 3. I don't care if that's to your own players. I don't care if it's for someone else. Bro, just don't BS me. Like, that's where I get pissed off. And that's where, even if they go get another guy, don't just bullshit me and tell me, oh, we didn't have the. I get it. Like, if you look at how things are structured, if you let Dak walk next season, then you're going to have a $40 million cap hit in 2024 and a $12 million cap hit in 2026, which, hey, if you want to eat that, be my guest. But again, I don't, and this is where I get so wrapped up in things, because it's just so funny to me and how people don't understand this idea of, like, you can go down that road. You can walk down that road if you want to, but they can't cry foul when they put themselves in these positions. Like, to me, the energy, not to get wrapped up in this again, has to go back to the front office. If they think that if they feel like some of these dudes don't deserve paychecks, don't pay them. But they will.
This is where I got annoyed a few years ago, Yeah, they went right to Stephen Jones after the Eagles. Okay, we could say I have a lot of Eagles subscribers in here, and shout out to you guys for dealing with the Dak talk, but it is what it is. After the Eagles won the Super Bowl, okay, after the Rams won the Super Bowl, they went to Stephen Jones and Jerry, and they snickered and like, we don't want to put our.
We don't believe that's the right way to build the team.
Yeah, like, we want to stay relevant year after year. Well, hey. The Eagles have been to a Super Bowl since then, the Rams went as far as you did since they
playoff.
blew up last year. So that's where my problem is. It's not any one player. I don't like how, and me and Mark got into it a lot last summer. We were going back and forth. It was jokingly, but it kind of was. It wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, we were going back and forth regarding Stephen Jones. And if anybody has any doubts, it's the front office. That's what it is. You're only as good as the people that are leading you. I'm surprised that I guess that NDA that Mike McCarthy has must be really strong, and he can't say a word, because I don't know that I could sit back and take all the BS that's coming. I mean, who puts everybody on a 1-year contract and expect to have any kind of success? It doesn't work.
Me and Madden. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it doesn't work, people. This is not how it works. What do you think the players in the locker room are looking at? Mark can tell you right now. He did a couple of videos on it. What did Brandon Cook say? What are all these players coming out? How you're treating Stephon Gilmore, who's nothing but a class act and wants to be here and will take less, guaranteed, to play with his buddy. And yet, you're going to leave him hang out to dry.
Say that now.
It's bullshit. This front office is killing the team. That's where it is. I don't care where you stand on any one player.
The reality. If they draft another quarterback, a young guy,
it's a waste.
They bring in a veteran, then they have to do more than what they're doing right now to try and win a Super Bowl. I'm sorry. You know where we are right now? We are like the Seattle Seahawks after they lost that other Super Bowl a couple years down the road. Because, see, what made that team great was they had a great defense that was lights out. Let's be clear.
Are you talking about Dan Quinn leaving?
Well, not just Dan Quinn, but actually Marshawn Lynch leaving.
That's true.
Because Russell Wilson was, when they won the Super Bowl, I think he had 23 touchdown passes. You had Marshawn Lynch that was getting like 1,300 yards, and they had a great defense. They were balanced. Russell Wilson became a better quarterback, was throwing 40 TDs in a season, but they weren't as good a team because they were relying so much on the pass. Yeah. And this is the same that happened to Tony Romo. If you look at Tony Romo's best year and the best team and opportunity that we should have won, it was DeMarco Murray. Mm-hmm. He had 34 TDs and 9 interceptions, and DeMarco Murray had 1,800 yards. That offense was incredible. Now, the defense took the ball away, but they weren't a great defense. And so that's where you look at it and say, wow, what is a running
Twiz brings up a good
for the
point.
Quarterback?
Twiz brings up a good point, and I've said it time and time again. We beat up on a lot of average teams last year. Anytime we played a team, our record against playoff teams was a losing record. And then, like I told Space earlier, these things tend to get magnified against better competition. You have a problem stopping the run, you may be able to score points against a bad team and take that phase out of it. Make a team more one-dimensional. But against a good team who could do both fairly well, this team has not gotten it done under Dan Quinn. Listen, the one thing Dan Quinn brought to this team and this defense, they were a turnover machine the last few years. That's great. But
they can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, it all comes from getting that lead, and that's why you saw, and Mark, I was watching your video the other day where they were hammering Micah. Now, I kind of like the fact that they're going after Micah a little bit just to bring him down a notch, just for my own silly little, mind. But I think it was kind of warranted. I mean, in his playoffs, he's got 1 sack in 3 games? Whereas he seems to put up a lot of numbers against when he's front running. That's kind of how he is. Now, I love Micah, but we'll see how he goes with Mike Zimmer. He needs to show up when the lights are shining the most.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed.
And that's the thing that I've talked about with controlling the line of scrimmage, is that goes for Micah Parsons too. I understand he's an edge rusher, and to the point of him not being able to show up in the bright lights, when you see how these teams attack him, I mean, they found a way to neutralize him, which is, okay, if you run at him, there's not going to be anyone else that's going to make a play. On top of that, when you see Micah Parsons being literally held, being in a chokehold, and he doesn't get a holding call, that's huge too.
Yeah, that's a game plan.
But like, dude, like there are people that will go out and be like, "Yo, you can literally just hold Micah Parsons
Well,
and
that's
you'll
the
be
thing is
A-okay."
they were holding him
Like-
with 3 players and it was okay. So let's go ahead and just limit it down to 1 player holding him and we'll be good.
There you go. And that's the part that makes me laugh is that, we talk about how they perform against the upper echelon competition. And like, it's one thing when you get beaten up, but when you are in a situation when you're in a close game and you can't make a stop, like to me, when this defense gets turnovers, they feel unstoppable.
Mhm.
When this team that's seeking turnovers doesn't get those turnovers, then they just turn into an average defense because it feels like they're more predicated. Again, this isn't any analytic. I mean, even analytics show you that if they don't get a turnover, they're not performing well. I mean, even they were like one of the, like in defensive EPA, they were one of the worst defenses at the end of the season. And so getting back to my thing is that if they are not performing well when they don't get a turnover, they're an opportunistic defense. And that's why I get so irritated on the defensive side of the ball. Like, it's great. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and say turnovers don't matter, but a lot of the times it's better to get that third down stop than to just get the turnover. I mean, for God's sake, you know how many games that, one game, the Seattle game on Thursday Night Football, you were able to get a stop when you just had all this, like towards the end to get the game to win. Yeah. And then on the opposite side of that, you had that happen in Miami too, where you couldn't get a stop. You had a boneheaded penalty by Damone Clark. And like it goes both ways in the sense of you can see what happens when you get a stop and when you don't. And that's where I get frustrated with the defense.
Well, here's where I get frustrated because we can go through the numbers. Play the Cardinals, 222 yards.
Yeah, that one was embarrassing.
You play San Francisco, 170 yards. You play the Eagles, that first game, 109 is respectable. And then you go to Buffalo, and Buffalo gets 266 yards. Miami was the only one that you held a team under 100 yards and got the loss. But when this problem we had was all season long in stopping the run. And this is where Stephen Jones gets in our way with this whole mentality of we believe in our guys. I can agree with that to a point. But when you don't have any linebackers on the roster, you got to do something more than that. You can't have a 207-pound middle linebacker. Sorry, it doesn't work. And Dan Quinn, who inherited an atrocious defense, let's be clear here, it was terrible. He ended up saying, we are going to be a team that can get after the quarterback, which was great because it did force a lot of turnovers. But if you look at the guys that we have, after Mozzie lost all the weight, Hankins is only 300-pound guy we had left. They got rid of the Quentin Bohannons. They got rid of the John Ridgeways. And things. So you had guys that were pass rushers that like guided missiles. But if I'm putting my hand in the dirt and I'm 340, 330, and I'm going against a guy who's 260, 270, I'm going to bull rush right past him. And especially if I've got a linebacker that's only 207. I mean, Jordan Love basically laughed at you. He's like, I don't want to throw against that secondary. But you had a D-back as a linebacker. We knew we could make some hay run the football. And that's exactly what teams did. It's not rocket science. You got to be able to stop the run. And you got to be able to run the ball when playoffs come. It's different football.
Yeah, definitely agree.
If we don't do something about that, I don't care who the quarterback is. And as much as everybody wants to say, it's Pat Mahomes is not as good this year as he had been in some of those other years they won the Super Bowl. Without that defense, because he threw that interception when they were down 10-0, that was almost in the red zone, and their defense held and gave him the ball back. If Pacheco was not running the way he was running in the playoffs, they're not winning the Super Bowl. They're not. That was a team that played together.
Agree.
Am I crazy?
No, you're good, man.
And all we get is, well, your quarterback sucks. Well, yeah, he did throw 2 interceptions. And you know what? Part of the problem was his number one wide receiver is checking out, and he's trying to force the ball to him to get his head in the damn game. And your running game is non-existent. The only other weapon you really had was Jake Ferguson. So when you don't have anything clicking, what are you going to do?
Rely on your $60 million quarterback.
To do what? To do what? Is he going to throw the ball to himself?
I just find it interesting, and not to deviate the conversation. I am a big proponent of matching energy, especially if, like, dude, look, if Dak Prescott's going to get all this shade just for the quarterback position alone, then Lamar Jackson deserves to get the same shade. Justin Herbert deserves to get the same shade. You know, who else? What's his name? Josh Allen. Josh Allen deserves the same shade. And look, I respect all those dudes. I do. And I'm not saying that they deserve to be hated on. Oh, they made it hard. Dude, the fact is like, I don't give a shit how many, like, if Dak Prescott won MVP this, I would not have given a flying fuck, honestly. Because, at the end of the day, we know what the goal is. It's to win a championship. I just think it just irritates the living hell out of me that there are other dudes in this league that are arguably less accomplished or maybe just as accomplished, but they don't get the exact same heat. And listen, do I think that Lamar deserves heat? Sure. Dude, he, like, for God's sake, you limited
very comparable.
You limited and hey, if anyone wants to bring up that 49ers playoff game where we limited them to 19 points, hey, fair game. I got it. I think Dak played pretty bad in that game. My thing is then all I hear is like, oh, it's okay. It was the MVP. Like, I just hear this stuff about Lamar, and I'm like, Lamar had home field advantage. And you mean to tell me that when the Chiefs only score 17 points and you put in this position where you can win, you don't, like, all this shit. And I know it's not. Hey, by the way, I'm not saying it was all his fault. By the way, I'm not saying it was all his fault either. That team did not come to play. But I'm just saying, like, please, like, if we're gonna go after Dak, which, hey, I'm okay with, you got to go after all these other dudes too. Just saying.
No, nobody does.
I mean, like,
that's the curse of being Cowboys, because really, Josh Allen, the first year they went to the AFC Championship game, but every year they've gone, less and less and less. And you actually have to look at it and say, when they played us, they decided we can't throw the football with Josh Allen like we're doing anymore. We need to start running the football. And that's what turned their season around, was taking the ball out of Josh Allen's hands more so he would stop doing the Josh O-nos. And that's recognizing you've got to be balanced. You can't just have a gunslinger that's always going to just throw the ball. That was the problem we had with Tony Romo too many times, that it was just, we just lived and died by the sword. And if we don't get balanced, and if we don't get this defensive line together, it's going to be the same results.
O-line, D-line.
Speaking of that, what do you guys think about the draft?
Well, I thought we were going to talk about the draft, but it's kind of late now.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
I'm okay. Hey,
that's my bedtime.
I don't blame you. Shoot.
We might have to do a take two.
Yeah, tomorrow night, me and Prime Time go live. So if I know we'll be talking draft. So
sounds good.
But thoughts from you guys, and listen, everybody check out my man Space Cowboy and sub up. Everybody check out, of course, Primetime Phil and sub up. And definitely, I think everybody's already subbed up to you, Game Time.
Everybody brought everybody here. I think
you brought everybody here, man. The party didn't start till you walked in. But definitely, and not just these guys.
I like turtles.
Turtles. Doing YouTube is not an easy thing.
No.
And I'm going to say the key word for doing YouTube is love. You have to love being abused, and you have to love putting in a whole lot of
getting abused, Mark.
And occasionally being wrong. Yeah,
I've gotten some horrendous replies, comments. Like,
that's God. When you know you're making it, bro.
My God, people, are you that miserable? Why do you? I can't.
Hey, we're Cowboys fans.
God, man, it was. You suck, you and your crooked eyes. And I'm like, dude, I make a lot of weird faces in my morning videos. What do you expect? I'm like, God, calm down, everybody. Calm down.
You know what? I've got the answer for you on that. Listen to this.
Christ. I'm sorry, I'm not I don't know what you're looking for, but
Now, can you or can you not? Or you just want to sit on the sideline and talk about other people, or can you step up?
Those who can do, those who can't talk about those who can do.
It's crazy. I'm like, man.
It's true. Okay. You know, the same mother humpers that are cuss you out could not get in front of a camera and put two words together. So, you know, let the haters hate. Let them hate.
I guess, man. I guess.
Bring it on. Bring it
I know.
on. All right. Give me your guys' final thoughts here on this season and everything else of disappointment.
You guys go first. I'll finish her out.
Go ahead, Space.
Yeah, blow up the team. Let's just start a strip. No, I'm just kidding.
I like it. I like it.
No, listen.
Drop the mic.
No, yeah, just end it there. No, look,
Bring on the strippers. Oh, sorry.
We're going to sisters. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh my
What
God,
the hell
man. No, look, we could all agree on how we want to approach this team. We're all frustrated Cowboys fans that want to see this team win. I get it. We try and grasp at straws to see what we can do to win. But hey, look, you're allowed to have any opinion you want. I just don't believe if you're going to get nasty about it, you should. You know, look, subscribe up to all these guys and everyone else in this community. They do a fantastic job. You know, again, we might not all agree, but again, that's part of the dialogue. If we all agreed on the same thing, like, do you understand how boring that would be? Nah, but no, man, it was great kicking with you guys once again. And when I say what I said, look, do I think this team is going to be terrible this year? Absolutely not. I think they will do just enough to get into the playoffs and maybe just piss us off again. But hey, you know what? That's a part of being a Cowboys fan, perpetual disappointment. And just that's why we're all miserable, I guess. I don't know. But hey, again, it was good kicking with you guys.
Go ahead, Phil.
When I look at this team, man, yeah, there's a lot of young guys. I look at this year, you know, Brian and I talked about how much money opens up next year. Of course, if you get some contracts done and he opens up even more. So to me, this year is a great evaluation year, and a lot of eyes. Oh, is it an evaluation of McCarthy and Dak and stuff? Those are the obvious ones. But let's talk about a lot of those younger guys like Mozzie Smith. Is he going to step up and actually do something this year? Is there going to be a running back like Deuce Vaughn that we just wasted a draft pick on? More of a you know, just a story type of situation. So to me, Jalen Brooks, there's Tolbert. What's going on in those wide receivers? Is Schoonmaker going to do anything? So there's a lot of questions with these young guys. A great job, you know, just evaluation. I think we're going to see Trey Lance in the preseason. I'm interested to see that. You know, what's going to happen with Cooper Rush? He's going to be let go. Is Trey Lance going to be that backup going into this year? There's just we spent so much money on the quarterback room with these guys. I'm interested to see what happens there. We're done with the running backs being paid a lot, so I'm interested to see what happens there. So a lot of question marks going in. Just to me, an evaluation year. We'll be a contender, but I don't think we're champions as of right now.
Yeah, I've seen stranger things happen, Mark. You know, I could easily see. Listen, like I said before, I don't really care. I said this last year. I don't care about winning the division. Now, the odds have it that we're not going to win a division. The same team doesn't win the division in back-to-back years, other than what 2003, 2004 Eagles. That was the last time it was done.
3 and 4. Yeah, it was Eagles.
So
everybody else in the division was terrible. Nobody was even 500.
You know, it's years like this. We think, oh my God, and then we may be surprised. Like I said, we have the draft coming. We still have free agency. There's still a lot to be played. You know, the key is, you know, be playing well when you go into the playoffs. Anything can happen. So playoffs. Yeah. So listen, we're going to be talking tomorrow night. Make sure everybody comes by Primetime Phil and checks out. I did reach out to Space Cowboy before the draft. We're going to, like last year, we're going to do we're on the clock, me, Space, and I mean, Mark can help, but maybe Mark can moderate. But me, Space, and Prime did the you know, we picked the first round. We randomly picked out teams, numbers, whatever, and it'll be fun. This is arguably my favorite time of the year, not in the middle of the season. So I'm ready to go for some drafts, man. That's all I know.
That's all we got, man. That's all we got. We ain't got no free agent. All we got is
we got
draft.
one slowly
We didn't even talk about the great Hassan Reddick trade.
They're going to take a picture. He's just one lonely brother out
All
there.
about the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's all about the Cowboys tonight. But thanks, Mark, for letting us. We're going to do a video.
That's not right, Jermaine.
And Mark said, let's just do a live. So impromptu.
Yeah, that's what I was from the first thing this morning. I kept telling everybody, tune in tonight.
I didn't know, my man.
That's so, yeah, it's all good.
It's good.
I was like 7 o'clock. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to be back here by 7. It's like, I thought we were doing
It worked out.
No, this was great. I appreciate you guys. A wealth of knowledge. It's good getting other people's perception of what's going on. I come up with all kinds of crazy ideas, and I have been literally waffling from being pissed off because we haven't done anything. But then I go back and say, we never do anything. We haven't done anything over the last 4 years. We've done more subtraction than addition, and somehow we've been stuck in purgatory, if you want to say that, of 12-5. But I'll take that over 8-8 3 years in a row, or 5-11 3 years in a row. And I honestly feel like they're really, honestly, not that far away. They've got some talent in some areas. They just need to add some more pieces to it. We got to have some depth that when you lose Damone Clark, when you lose Leighton Vander Esch, that you've got a linebacker on the roster. That kind of thing. That you've got to get, real about interior defensive linemen and not let the ones you draft like John Ridgeway get away. So we'll see what happens. But as always, I appreciate you guys, and we're going to roll on out. So I will see you guys soon. Peace.
Later.
I don't know what to say, really. 3 minutes. The biggest battle of our professional lives. All comes down to today. We heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch.
And we are
play
out.
by play.
Guys, that was a great show.